The secret truth about your sleep is finally being revealed, and what you don't know could be costing you precious hours of rest. If you've ever found yourself staring at the ceiling in the eerie quiet of 3 a.m., feeling wide awake while the rest of the world sleeps, you're not alone. In fact, this experience is far more common than many realize, and it's not just a random quirk of getting older or a sign that something is fundamentally wrong with you. There are profound, often hidden, reasons why your body insists on waking you at this specific pre-dawn hour. Missing this crucial information means missing the chance to reclaim your nights, understand your body on a deeper level, and finally find the peace you deserve. Don't let another restless night go by without discovering the powerful insights that can transform your understanding of sleep, health, and the very rhythms of your life. This isn't about quick fixes. It's about unlocking a deeper wisdom about yourself, wisdom that could change your mornings and your entire perspective forever. The fading light of melatonin. One of the most undeniable and pervasive reasons why so many adults find themselves suddenly alert in the quiet solitude of the early morning, often precisely around 3 a.m., is deeply rooted in the natural, age-related decline of melatonin production. Melatonin isn't just a sleep aid you might find on a pharmacy shelf. It's a fundamental hormone, a master regulator within your body, meticulously orchestrating your sleep-wake cycle, often beautifully described as your body's intrinsic internal clock. In your younger years, your system was a robust melatonin factory, churning out a generous and steady supply each night. This abundance allowed you to effortlessly drift into deep, restorative sleep and remain comfortably enveloped in its embrace for hours, enjoying long, unbroken stretches of profound rest. However, as the rich tapestry of life unfolds and the years gently accumulate, this once prolific factory begins to slow its production. The robust, steady stream of melatonin gradually diminishes, and this subtle, often unnoticed chemical shift can have a surprisingly profound impact on the very quality and continuity of your sleep. You might still find it remarkably easy to fall asleep when you first settle into bed in the evening. Perhaps you've had a wonderfully fulfilling day or enjoyed a calming and tranquil evening ritual, and your body feels ready for rest. But as those critical early morning hours approach, somewhere between 2 a.m., 3 a.m., or even 4 a.m., that naturally dwindling supply of melatonin may simply dip too low to effectively sustain your deep, restful state. Suddenly, without any external disturbance, you find yourself awake. It's not a loud noise, not a vivid dream that jolts you, but rather an internal quiet shift as your brain subtly transitions back towards wakefulness, no longer held in the soothing grip of sufficient melatonin. This isn't a personal failing. It's not an indication that your body is betraying you or losing its capabilities. Instead, it's a gentle, natural evolution of your internal chemistry as you age. Furthermore, the environment in which you attempt to sleep can significantly amplify this effect. Our bodies, particularly as we age, become remarkably more sensitive to even the most minuscule environmental triggers. What might have been an imperceptible sliver of light in your youth, perhaps from a distant street lamp filtering through a curtain, the faint blinking of a digital clock on your nightstand, or a thin line of light escaping from beneath a hallway door, can now be enough to further suppress your already reduced melatonin production. This heightened sensitivity makes that 3 a.m. awakening all the more jarring and frustrating. Consider Harold, a spry 72-year-old who always prided himself on his impeccable sleep habits. Yet recently, he'd found himself consistently wide awake by 3:15 a.m., not feeling anxious, but simply fully, inexplicably alert, as if his day was meant to begin. Once he grasped that this wasn't a personal flaw, but a biological shift linked to melatonin, he replaced self-blame with proactive adjustments. He now diligently ensures his bedroom is profoundly dark, consciously avoids screens for a full hour before bed, and incorporates a short, calming evening walk to gently reinforce his natural circadian rhythm. These deliberate, seemingly small changes serve as powerful signals to his body, assuring it that the night is still ongoing. While he still experiences occasional early awakenings, he's learned to harmonize with his body's new rhythm instead of battling against it. This newfound understanding is truly transformative. Realizing that early wake-ups aren't a sign of failure, but a natural chemical recalibration empowers you to support your sleep rather than resent your body. It's the profound gift of awareness, converting frustration into understanding and guiding you toward more mindful, compassionate choices for your nocturnal well-being. Your body's new time zone. Another profoundly impactful, yet often misunderstood, reason why older adults frequently find themselves awake at 3 a.m. stems from a fundamental and natural recalibration of the body's intricate internal clock. This fascinating phenomenon is scientifically known as advanced sleep phase. As the decades gracefully unfold, our powerful circadian rhythms, the intricate biological processes that regulate our sleep-wake cycle over approximately 24 hours, subtly but steadily begin to shift forward. What this means in practical terms is that you might begin to experience feelings of sleepiness much earlier in the evening than you once did, and correspondingly, you may find yourself waking up earlier in the morning, often without the need for an alarm. You might suddenly notice yourself dozing off during a late-night movie that you would have easily stayed awake for in years past, or waking naturally at dawn, even on days when you yearn for a few more hours of precious slumber. This isn't merely a matter of cultivating a new habit, it's a deep-seated biological adjustment, a fundamental shift woven into the very fabric of your physiology, and it tends to become more pronounced and influential with each passing year. In your younger, more vibrant years, your body's rhythm was typically attuned to a later bedtime, aligning perfectly with a wake-up time that felt entirely harmonious with the rising sun and your daily responsibilities. But as this internal rhythm progressively advances, your entire sleep window naturally shifts forward with it. You might find yourself effortlessly falling asleep by 9 p.m. or even earlier without any conscious intention or effort. When this occurs, your body has effectively completed its entire necessary cycle of restorative rest by the time the clock hand sweeps to 3 a.m. This is precisely why you might find yourself wide awake in the middle of the night, feeling remarkably refreshed and as though your rest is complete, even though the world outside is still cloaked in profound darkness. Again, this is not an indication that there is anything inherently wrong with you. It simply signifies that your body is now operating on a subtly different schedule, much like a finely tuned clock that has been gently, incrementally reset over the years, ticking a little further ahead with each passing season. While this biological shift is entirely harmless in itself, it can undoubtedly lead to considerable frustration if your existing lifestyle, family routines, or personal preferences are not yet aligned with this new, earlier rhythm. Beyond the purely physiological, there's also a quiet yet significant psychological dimension to this change. Many older adults experience a quieter home environment, perhaps living alone or spending more time in peaceful solitude. This tranquil setting can powerfully amplify the body's internal signals to wind down and prepare for rest much earlier in the day. Without the constant hustle, bustling activity, or ambient noise that might have once pushed back your bedtime, your system initiates its nightly shutdown process considerably sooner. Furthermore, if you're no longer engaged in full-time work or adhering to a rigid daily routine, the absence of strong external time cues, such as morning meetings, daily commutes, or structured social gatherings, can allow this internal circadian shift to become even more pronounced. Consider Charles, a 68-year-old gentleman who has embraced retirement. He routinely enjoys dinner around 5:30 p.m. and settles down to watch television for an hour or so before heading to bed. By 9 p.m., he's typically sound asleep. Consequently, by 3 a.m., his body is naturally and fully ready to awaken. Initially, he worried he was developing insomnia, but after learning about advanced sleep phase, he recognized his sleep wasn't broken, it was simply rescheduled. Charles began to subtly adjust his evening routine, aiming to stay awake just a little longer. He introduced reading a captivating book under a warm light, taking a gentle post-dinner stroll, and sometimes even calling his daughter for a brief, comforting chat before bed. These gentle social and sensory cues helped to slightly stretch his sleep window, effectively shifting his wake-up time closer to the genuine morning hours. The rewarding outcome was fewer unsettling 3 a.m. awakenings and a deeper, more harmonious sense of alignment with his daily life. This natural evolution in sleep cycle is a widely experienced phenomenon among older adults, yet it remains surprisingly seldom discussed. Grasping this concept can alleviate a significant burden of guilt or confusion, offering a more compassionate and understanding path to working with your body rather than perpetually fighting against its inherent evolving rhythms. Therefore, if you're consistently waking around 3 a.m. and feel surprisingly rested, as if you've already had a complete night's sleep, it's highly probable that your body is simply operating on an earlier schedule now. Once you acknowledge this truth, you can begin to thoughtfully reshape your daily routine in ways that genuinely support your overall well being and honor your body's natural clock. Unseen, nudges, and nighttime alerts. Beyond the internal clock and hormone shifts, a significant contributor to those perplexing 3 a.m. awakenings for many older adults lies in the body's subtle yet insistent responses to physical discomfort or nascent health issues. As we journey through the later stages of life, the likelihood of encountering chronic conditions or developing more subtle health challenges naturally increases. What makes these particularly disruptive to sleep is their tendency to surface not with loud, alarming signals during the day, but rather to creep in quietly during the tranquil, vulnerable hours of the night. A nagging joint, an unexpectedly full bladder, or a sudden, sharp twinge in the back. These are often the quiet nudges that are just potent enough to pull you from a state of deep, restorative rest right in the middle of the night. Conditions, such as arthritis, for example, can render lying in a single position for several consecutive hours increasingly uncomfortable. While you might not notice the initial discomfort when you first drift off, after those prolonged periods of stillness, the accumulated aches and stiffness can build to a level that precisely awakens you. For others, the unwelcome intrusion of nighttime acid reflux can stir them from sleep, particularly if dinner was consumed too late in the evening or if they recline too soon after eating. Even seemingly minor physiological occurrences like dry mouth, the sudden tightening of a muscle cramp, or a barely perceptible shift in the room's temperature can trigger a light awakening during the fragile early morning hours, when your body's internal defenses are already more sensitive and less tolerant than they once were. One of the most frequently cited physical reasons for early morning awakenings, particularly among older men, is the compelling need to urinate, a condition often referred to as nocturia. With advancing age, the bladder's elasticity naturally diminishes, meaning it can hold less urine and the urge to relieve it can become more frequent and more insistent. During the day, with the numerous distractions of activities and social interactions, your mind might easily override or simply not fully register this sensation. But at 3 a.m., in a dark, silent room, that sensation becomes impossible to ignore, demanding your attention. Once you rise and move, even if it's just for a brief trip to the bathroom, your body has already shifted out of deep rest and into a state of light alertness, making the return to profound sleep considerably more challenging. Furthermore, the widespread use of medications among older adults for managing conditions like high blood pressure, heart health, or chronic pain introduces another layer of complexity. Many of these essential medications carry potential side effects, such as increased urination, subtle alterations in body temperature, or heightened sensitivity to external stimuli like noise or light, all of which can silently yet powerfully disrupt sleep patterns. You might not even draw the connection between your prescribed medicine and your interrupted sleep until an observant professional points it out, or you begin diligently tracking your daily habits. Consider Eleanor, a 76-year-old woman who, despite always being a relatively light sleeper, began consistently waking around 3:30 a.m. for over a year. After months of attributing it solely to just aging, she consulted her doctor. Together, they discovered that one of her medications was subtly affecting her hydration levels, consequently increasing her nighttime trips to the bathroom. With her doctor's guidance, she adjusted the timing of her dosage and incorporated a few thoughtful lifestyle changes. The result? She now wakes less frequently, and when she does, she returns to sleep with greater ease. The crucial takeaway here is that these physical awakenings are not indicators of a failing body. Quite the opposite. They are powerful signals that your body is still actively doing its job, responding, alerting, and adjusting. These internal messages can serve as invaluable guides, directing you toward better self-care, more informed health choices, and a deeper, more profound trust in your own body's innate awareness. Waking at 3 a.m. might initially feel like an inconvenient disruption, but it can also be a quiet, urgent nudge to truly tune in, to check on your internal state, and to implement small, compassionate changes that will ultimately foster better health and lead to far deeper, more restorative rest. The quiet reshaping of your routine. Another potent, yet frequently underestimated reason why older adults often find themselves wide awake at 3 a.m. is deeply embedded in the accumulation of long-standing daily habits. Those small routines and seemingly minor choices that over time subtly and profoundly reshape your body's intricate internal rhythm. Many older individuals naturally begin to adjust their daily schedule, eating dinner earlier, winding down sooner in the evening, and often experiencing a reduction in overall physical activity throughout the day. These adjustments, which might appear insignificant in isolation, accumulate to send a powerful, albeit quiet, signal to the body that the night should commence earlier. This, in turn, inevitably shifts the wake-up time to an earlier hour as well. When your days become notably quieter, particularly following retirement, your body no longer receives the same robust external cues it once relied upon. The rhythm of daily commutes, the necessity of running errands, or the engagement in physically or mentally stimulating tasks, these once reliable anchors diminish. Without these consistent external prompts, the body's delicate sleep-wake cycle can begin to drift forward. A calm, dimly lit evening, characterized by minimal stimulation, can prompt your brain to release melatonin much earlier, effectively inviting sleep before you even realize the clock has struck 9 p.m. And once you've fallen asleep earlier, your body simply completes its full cycle of rest earlier, leading to those perplexing awakenings in the tranquil pre-dawn hours, often precisely around 3 a.m. There's also a subtle but significant interplay between the timing of your meals and the quality of your sleep. While eating dinner earlier is generally considered a healthy habit, it can sometimes lead to an undesirable dip in blood sugar levels overnight, especially if there isn't a light, balanced snack before bed. This drop in blood sugar might not manifest as overt hunger, but it can still be sufficient to rouse the body from a deep sleep state. Similarly, caffeine, even when consumed in the early afternoon, can linger in your system for far longer than you might imagine, particularly as metabolism naturally slows with age. This lingering caffeine subtly lightens your sleep, making you more susceptible to waking up at the slightest disturbance. Consider Walter, a 74-year-old who recently retired. These changes crept into his life so gradually he barely noticed them. His days became less structured, his evenings more relaxed. He found himself having supper by 5 p.m., often dozing off in his recliner during the evening news, and heading to bed before 9 p.m. most nights. Unbeknownst to him, his entire routine had subtly shifted several hours earlier. Before long, he consistently began waking around 3 a.m., utterly puzzled as to why he was wide awake before the birds had even begun their morning chorus. After a period of thoughtful reflection on his daily routine, Walter decided to make some small, intentional adjustments. He added a short, brisk walk in the afternoon, ensured he read in brighter light during the early evening, and diligently avoided naps after dinner. These strategic changes helped to gently push his natural sleep window just a bit later, allowing his body to settle into a rhythm that more closely aligned with his ideal wake-up time. The remarkable insight here is how often we overlook the profound power of routine. Our bodies inherently crave rhythm, predictable daily patterns that act like internal signals, clearly telling the brain when it's time to rest and when it's time to rise. As these vital signals weaken or shift without our awareness, the internal body clock can lose its bearings, leading to earlier and more fragmented sleep. However, by simply noticing these patterns and making thoughtful, gentle adjustments, it becomes entirely possible to guide the body back to a sleep cycle that feels far more restorative, cohesive, and less disrupted. The soul's midnight conversation. Sometimes, those unsettling 3 a.m. awakenings have less to do with the physical body and far more to do with the intricate workings of the mind and heart. As we journey deeper into life, the emotional layers that were perhaps once diligently buried or cleverly masked by the constant demands and busyness of daily life can begin to gently yet persistently surface in the profound quiet of the night. These early morning hours, when the entire world is hushed and still, when the usual barrage of distractions fades away, often become a silent stage where unspoken worries, lingering regrets, or deep-seated longings begin to stir and echo. You might find yourself lying awake not because of an external noise or a physical ache, but because your mind is quietly, almost instinctively, sorting through a mosaic of memories, unresolved thoughts, or subtle anxieties you weren't even consciously aware were still residing within you. This particular brand of restlessness is distinctly different from the more intense, full-blown anxiety that might have gripped you in your younger years. It's a quieter, more reflective sensation. It can feel like a soft, persistent hum in the background, an underlying sense that something remains unsettled, even if you can't quite articulate its name or origin. The mind, when not actively engaged in external tasks or diversions, often reaches backward, replaying moments from old relationships, revisiting past decisions, mourning losses endured, or pondering words left unsaid. And because the body is no longer rushing from one responsibility to another, there is ample, quiet space for these thoughts and emotions to resonate a little louder, to demand a little more attention. It's also crucial to acknowledge the potent role that loneliness can play in these nocturnal awakenings. For many older adults, social circles naturally contract over time. Children grow up and move away, cherished friends become busy or pass on, and familiar routines transform. While the daytime might still be filled with a degree of light and activity, the nighttime often brings a profound quiet, and with it, a heightened awareness of that emotional gap, that yearning for connection. This kind of loneliness doesn't always manifest as a heavy, crushing despair. Sometimes it simply appears as a gentle desire for connection, a faint ache for someone to talk to, or even just a comforting presence when the entire house is still and silent. Consider Gloria, an 80-year-old widow. During the day, she maintains a bustling schedule, tending to her vibrant garden, calling her grandchildren, and enjoying her favorite television shows. Yet, around 3:00 a.m., she frequently finds herself waking up, her thoughts inevitably drifting back to cherished moments shared with her late husband, or to worries she meticulously keeps tucked away during the daylight hours. Initially, she believed her sleep itself was flawed, but over time she came to a profound realization. Her early waking wasn't truly about sleep at all. It was her heart gently, yet persistently, asking to be acknowledged and heard. To support herself, Gloria began keeping a small, unassuming journal by her bedside. When she wakes, she sometimes simply jots down whatever thoughts are occupying her mind. Nothing elaborate, just a few honest, unfiltered reflections. She also incorporated a quiet evening ritual, such as listening to soft, calming music or writing a brief, heartfelt note to a friend. These small, intentional acts of reflection and connection provided her emotions with a gentle, much-needed outlet, easing her mind and helping her return to sleep with greater tranquility. The undeniable truth is that the human heart does not adhere to a strict schedule. It remembers what it wishes to remember, asks the questions it needs to ask, and sometimes does all of this precisely at 3:00 a.m., when everything else is profoundly quiet. But this is not a flaw. It is a testament to your depth, a sign of the rich life you have lived. If you find yourself waking up feeling reflective, it might be a gentle indication that you are carrying a unique wisdom, a wisdom that is now ready to be acknowledged. You have navigated through countless joys and heartbreaks, and these experiences have shaped not only your memories, but the very essence of yourself. Rather than perceiving these awakenings as problems to be fixed, try approaching them with a spirit of curiosity and profound kindness. What is your mind attempting to convey to you? What part of you yearns for a voice, a moment of recognition? What aspect of your being needs a little extra grace, even in the deepest dark? Sometimes, the most meaningful and restorative kind of rest emerges not from ignoring these profound moments, but from honoring them. In doing so, you may discover not only a path to better sleep, but a richer, more compassionate understanding of yourself in this beautiful, evolving stage of life. Final reflections. As we draw to a close, take a quiet moment, a truly still moment, to gently reflect on the insights you've just encountered. What resonated most deeply within you? Was it the subtle, inevitable shift in your body's internal clock, the gradual and often unseen changes in your physical health, or perhaps something even more profound, an emotional rhythm that only truly reveals itself when the world outside falls silent. Each of these five powerful reasons offers a distinct and invaluable lens through which to understand your early morning awakenings. Crucially, not a single one suggests that anything is inherently wrong or broken within you. On the contrary, each reason beautifully illuminates just how deeply your body and mind are still engaged, still responding, still adapting as you gracefully navigate through this unique and significant stage of life. There is an undeniable, quiet strength that comes from truly understanding what your body is attempting to communicate, especially during those soft, vulnerable hours before dawn. Instead of merely dismissing those 3 a.m. wake ups as an irritating nuisance, you might begin to perceive them as profound messages, gentle, persistent signals reminding you to listen a little more attentively to your deepest needs, to thoughtfully examine your daily habits, and to tenderly honor the quiet whisperings of your heart. You are far from alone in this experience. Indeed, countless others are also searching for these very answers. But with this newfound insight comes a genuine, empowering strength, and with that strength comes the precious freedom to enact small, yet deeply meaningful changes that will ultimately foster better rest, provide deeper comfort, and forge a stronger, more harmonious connection to your own unique rhythms. If you have recognized yourself in any of these reasons today, know this: you are not merely aging, you are beautifully evolving. And with that ongoing evolution comes an extraordinary chance to rest more intentionally, to care for yourself with greater gentleness and compassion, and to greet each new morning not with confusion or frustration, but with a bit more profound understanding and a deeper, abiding sense of peace.